thank you, Advancement Courses, for sponsoring today's show. Stay tuned at the end of the show to learn how to save 20% for online professional development. I talked to my son tonight in the car about classroom management, and he says that when a teacher has good classroom management, it means he can learn. And when they don't, it means chaos and stress for everybody, including the teacher. I think that he is right, and classroom management is an important topic. So for him and all the other kids like him, and for us teachers, episode 471, Improve Student Behavior Now.
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
Today, we're talking with Darrian Tanner about an issue that all of us teachers have to be an expert at if we're going to get anything done in the classroom. And that is, how do we motivate ourselves to really handle student behavior effectively? So, Darrian, where do you start when you're talking to new teachers, talking about student behavior?
Well, really where I start is with the teacher themselves. I'm huge on understanding what I call the teacher journey and teacher confidence. Teachers really have to think about why they've decided to become educators, why they're in the classroom, because sometimes that'll be challenged with today's teaching and just the culture and the youth generation, because several of them did not go to school for education. They went for other things and decided to make a change. And so a lot of times I have them think about why they decided to teach. What was at the core? What was their heart intent for this? Because you're going to have to pull from that. And also, I think a lot of times when you think about your journey and your decision and your purpose, your confidence lies there, your confidence in who you are. And then it's funny that we're talking about this morning. I was at a Wawa's gas station, and the gentleman told me, he said, "You look like you're somebody important." And I was about to say, "Oh, I'm just a teacher." And that was about to come out of my mouth. But my sister was laughing. I literally stopped myself and I said, "Actually, I'm a high school teacher." And he was like, "Wow, actually, that is very important." And when he said that, it just made me think, others outside world, even though sometimes it seems like we aren't valued, but everybody knows that teachers are important and we have to carry that confidence as well. So I'm just reminded of that myself as a teacher for 10 years, that this is very important when you're going into the classroom, when you're about to approach and deal with and work with the students, that you understand what value you bring to the table and who you are as an educator.
Yes, educators are so valuable. I started off in the business world. I didn't plan on being a teacher. And I remember my mom and sister talking about people who were trying to teach, but they would say they can't hold a classroom. What does that mean to you? And if you see a teacher who's struggling to hold that classroom, how do you get them started? Because we probably have some people listening today that feel like, you know what, that's me. I'm not there yet.
One of the things I'm known for, my analogy with, we have our classic Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And then we have Mr. Clark from the movie Lean on Me. It was an African-American male who had to come into a school that was, very distorted, a lot going on. And so he became as a principal and was very firm and very strict. Some people thought too strict. And sometimes I say the balance between both firmness and warmth. So I'm looking at Mr. Rogers and I'm looking at Mr. Clark, and you kind of have to go into the classroom this way. And I sort of disagree with, telling teachers, oh, you have to be mean and you have to have the mean face on. It's the approach of both the warmth and the firmness. And so teachers just can't be afraid. Again, the confidence in who they are is at the root of it all, but they cannot be afraid to be firm with the policies and with the structure. But at the same time, they have to have like a warm and open heart. And just the way you say things, kids can really see if you really care about them. When we're thinking about first day, sometimes you try to build those relationships on the first day or the first week, but those policies and just the structure of the classroom, how you run the classroom, there has to be something addressed head on, despite the students' dislike for it or just being uncomfortable with the policies or just the rules and the cell phone and, just the different issues that they may have, because we're teaching a generation that's not very respectful to authority. So they're coming in already with that mindset. So the teacher will have to have that balance of firmness, but also warmth. And I think a lot of times I'm finding that teachers are on the more side of the warmth versus the strictness, the firmness. They're kind of walking on eggshells because they don't know what to expect. But I have a classic saying that the teacher is the climate. The class actually runs by the teacher. teacher's personality, the teacher's aura, the teacher's expectations. And so teachers will have to just not be afraid to approach and talk about, the structure and just the rules. And no matter if the students are going to go against, again, cell phone issues are a huge, huge issue. And so a lot of teachers are afraid because the students are so attached to that, but you have to get over the correcting part and that firmness and go ahead and approach it. But as well, understanding that you do have to have that warmth and think about the relationship piece as the week goes on.
I know my early years, I really had a problem with mixed signals that I did not realize I was doing. And when I started taping myself, that helped because I would be upset at students, but I would still be smiling. And there wasn't a contrast between when I was pleased and when I was not happy. And I read in a book somewhere that a wise teacher's eyebrows can do more than an unwise teacher's yell. And I realized, it's true. The proximity, and there's just so many different techniques that we can use because once we yell, we lose, don't we?
Right, exactly.
So when you have a teacher who comes to you and they've already been yelling and the kids are not happy, they're not happy, where do you start with them?
I actually had a teacher that cried in front of the classroom because she's just gotten so fed up and just let a lot of things slide, and it just kind of got to her. And so what I had to tell her to do was just kind of go home, and just kind of reflect on why she made the decision or just what was going on mentally with her. And so I suggested that she go and talk with the students and just explain, where she's coming from. And she kind of shared her story with them. And I told her that because they really don't know who you are and what you fought for. She's from the Philippines, and she's coming from a whole different school culture, and she's really good at what she does. And she's left family behind. She didn't have to go that in depth with her business to the students, but just so they can understand that she's really there to help them, and that we've gone through so many math teachers and can't find one that'll stay. And, I'm here to help you, and I really want to make this work. And this is a new experience, just different things, because they had already known that she was a new teacher. And it worked for her. And of course, it didn't turn everything 100%, but it began to work for her, and they began to know her, and things got better for her. And she started to develop relationships slowly but surely with, several of the students, and things were different. And there are different ways you can approach that. But in her situation, I just said, I don't think they know your story, or like, why are you here? And then she shared that with them, and things started to change for her.
There's some people who blame teachers for every single thing, and I'd never be in that camp, but I will say this. We have to encourage teachers to change the only thing they can control, which is themselves, right?
Right. Very true.
There's so many things that we could talk about with student behavior, but I want to finish up. Could you give a pep talk to teachers who are just at a place right now where they are not happy with how things are going in their classroom? Where should they begin?
Now, I'm going to be very honest. There are a couple of teachers that I've spoken with before, and teaching just wasn't for them. At the end of the day, that's what they decided. And so I had a couple of teachers decide to go to another field, and it worked perfectly. And then there was another teacher I had that was better for elementary school. And she ended up finishing out the year, and she went to elementary school, and I happened to see her at a game one time. She called me over, and she was just so excited, just happy that she made the decision to go to elementary school. So sometimes when you look at just where things are going, there's a small percentage of teachers that maybe this is not what I'm really called to do, and it's okay to venture off into something else. But then for a lot of teachers, it's just that you have to, especially first year teachers, you're learning as you go. And so sometimes those experiences may not be the best experience, and so you're learning as you go. But also sometimes you're having experiences that are based off of, just decisions we've made in the classroom that, we have to improve on. As you were talking about, sometimes teachers, we have to change. So we may have to take a look at ourselves and see if this is really what we want to do. But my last thing I really want to focus on with the answering that question for a teacher right now, that as we're sitting in April the 1st and we're finishing up the school year, and you may not have had the best school year and just frustrated, you may not feel like the best teacher. You may look around and think other teachers are better, look on Instagram and feel like other teachers are doing better. I think each teacher have their niche and their special piece of their heart and their personality that they bring to the table. And I know there are some students that are influenced by you. A lot of times they may not ever say it, but there's something you can grab from that's positive in the classroom. Just one little inkling. Like I had a teacher who had some strong classroom management issues, and just had his last class period just in an array. I mean, just a lot happening, just wasn't happy, stressed out, leaving school every day. But he had a student that wrote a note to him and just said, Mr. Such and Such, I know that the class is bad, as the student called it, but I want you to know that I'm really learning some things. It's better than my class last year. And just a positive note to kind of encourage him. That really meant a lot to him. And so, when you run against those tough times, just pull from those small little wins that you have in the classroom. There are some small wins, some small changes that happen every day. 10% students passed the assessment, next time 30%. So just pulling from something, because I'm sure there's something great, no matter how small or big, something great happening in your classes, something great happening in this journey for you as an educator. Those are kind of the major ones that I see when teachers are really like, I've had it, I can't do it. They can pull from something positive. Sometimes it could be that maybe I need to step away and just think about something else, or maybe I just need to be another part of the education system, because again, we don't want teachers having trauma or stress, and we got to know this whole big self-care thing is happening right now with teachers, to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves so that we can pour into the students. I tell my first year teachers, give it another year, because you learn so much from the first year. But if it's so much to tolerate, maybe you can consider something else. But if you're one of those teachers like, I really want to do this, I can pull through, and you can. I didn't have a great first year either. And the 10 years later, I love it. And, I've managed to grow and help other teachers. So you just got to put that time in,
I did fall in love with the kids, and I did fall in love with teaching pretty quickly, but boy, I made a bunch of mistakes. So teachers out there, just remember, you can reboot any day. Guys, tomorrow we're going to reboot. This is what we're going to do differently. I'll remind them what we're going to do differently, try to keep them on pace. And if somebody's doing it well, you can learn from that person and improve your classroom and get better classroom discipline. So thank you so much for all of this great advice, Darrian. I know it'll be inspiring for teachers. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
So today I want to tell you about the Advancement Courses Spring Sale. You can save 20% off each course with the code COOL20. So that's just $120 per graduate credit hour, or $160 for 50 clock hours. Advancement Courses has over 250 online graduate level PD courses in 19 different subject areas. They have standard content areas like math, science, and social studies, but also have courses that are a little harder to find, like PE or the arts, counseling, teacher wellness, social emotional learning, and special education courses. And they've even got a new course on makerspaces in the school library. All of these courses are online and self-paced, and you have up to 6 months to complete them. Graduate credit is available with an official transcript from your CAEP and regionally accredited university partners. So to take advantage of the spring sale, go to advancementcourses.com/CoolCat. And remember, use the code COOL20 to get your special 10-minute teacher discount and save 20%.
Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.